let me define home free according to what she was the one and only young lady in this clip.
Okay.
And such a beautiful girl, right? And she kind of reminded me of Sherry Belafonte.
Oh,
Girl.
okay.
When you see her,
Hey guys, how you
that's
doing?
who she reminds me
What's happening?
of.
What's
And
going on? Hanging out? Where you hanging
her
out for?
definition of home free.
Really? What's the day like being a
It's
panhandler?
basically a term that describes persons who abandon common lifestyles and responsibilities, right? And she didn't say that verbatim during the interview, but
like we could have been their neighbors or something.
they're similar
What
to
caused
hobos,
this?
I guess. You know, this is a term that was used years ago, hobos,
Say again?
and
I
they're
chose to
travelers, and they just kind
I'm
of
sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I chose to
don't
travel.
have an interest
You
in
chose
having
to
a
travel.
job.
Yes.
And your
They
travel
don't
is
have
where?
an interest in living
From
in
where to
shelters.
where?
Everywhere, wherever I want to go.
In groups, they just
Okay.
travel from one state
All
to
right,
another.
and where'd you start?
Okay.
You're ending here in
They
Philly?
can
Or?
or
No,
they do
no,
whatever
we're
it
never
is that they
ending.
can to survive.
We're pregnant.
So what caused you to be in the state that you're in at the moment?
Our dog.
Your dog?
We
Yeah,
went to
we
jail
went to
and
jail.
our dog was here.
Went to
I'm
jail
sorry,
and our
say
friend brought
again?
our dog. We went to jail and our friend brought our dog here.
You went to jail and you brought your dog with you?
No, we couldn't take the police didn't want to take our dog to the pound, so we let our friend hold it. And he came here because he's a traveler as well, and he didn't want to stay where we were.
Okay,
so then we had to come here. To get
But
our
my
dog.
question is, what caused you to become, you said it's not referred to as homeless, it's referred to as what?
Home free.
Home free.
Yeah, but not everybody, you know.
So home free, does that mean that there's a choice to be living?
Yes,
Okay.
because I could get a job if I wanted one,
Okay.
but I don't want one.
And at what point did you make this decision?
Probably when I was like 17, but I didn't know I was making the decision.
Right.
I just kind of like ran away from home because I didn't want to be doing what people wanted me to do. I
Okay.
wanted to do what I wanted to do.
Right.
But I guess like 2 years ago, I literally said I want to travel around.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of just bumming around where I lived.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you've been doing this for how long, Michelle? It's Michelle, is that
literally
correct?
Well, Mitch. But
Bitch.
I guess 2 years ago.
And
But I've
it's,
been living on the streets since I was 17. I'm 24 now.
okay. And this is your hubby?
Yeah,
Hello,
that's my
man.
husband.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Great. Feeding my
Good.
dog.
Okay. What's your dog's name?
This is Rita. Rita Marley.
Rita Marley.
Yeah.
Why Marley?
Because I named her after Bob Marley's.
Bob Marley?
Yeah.
She's
Yeah,
about weed.
Bob Marley's wife.
Okay.
She eats on my weed all the time.
Right, right, right.
Philly is like one of the worst places I've ever been
Why is that?
to. Cigarettes are expensive. Pennsylvania's got bullshit laws on buying alcohol. Nobody gives you money, comparatively speaking. You know, like I mean, I go from nice to not nice. No matter how you do it, you really ain't making much money. Yeah, Philly sucks, man. You gotta tell me.
So what's your story?
Uh,
I'm sorry, what's your name again?
Justin.
Justin. What's your
Yeah.
story?
I was a drug addict for a really long time.
Okay.
And then I went to rehab a whole bunch of times, and then I went to rehab in Florida, and I said fuck it. And instead of going home, I met up with this chick. Who was like a you know, just a vagrant, vagabond, and she was real cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met up with a couple other people that did that shit.
Bitch.
And yeah, now that's kind of what I do. Is
Rita.
just travel
Rita, what the fuck?
city to city, to state to state.
I was gonna give that to
Canada,
you.
Mexico.
I was.
Really?
Yeah.
How can you afford to do that if you're home
Move in your
free
bag over there. So
or
we can
homeless? How can you afford to do that?
God gave us legs.
Your legs.
When He invented us.
Come on, Rita.
Okay.
It's really a smart decision.
Okay.
It's actually not expensive. People say traveling is expensive. It's not.
It's free.
Hotels are expensive.
What you guys leaving?
No, I was moving my dog up there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right now I'm so on the fence because they look like this.
Wow.
Look, I'm so proud of that. I bled, puked.
Wow.
Shit.
Bitch, you ain't getting on too dark.
So tell me this, all of you. Tell me what you think the public's perspective of you is.
They think we're pieces of
That's
shit
a
most
really
of the time.
broad question.
Say that again.
They think we're pieces of shit most of the time.
Well, no.
But I'll go
that's
to
what
get
society
someone's.
thinks.
I'll go to get someone's attention. I might just be asking for the time, but they're like, I don't have any money.
Right.
I don't always like need money. I don't
Right.
always want your fucking money.
Right,
Sometimes I just want to talk to you.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But because I sit on the curb, I'm a worthless piece of shit.
Yeah, they're like.
So how can we change the perspective of the public?
You know what? I don't really know, and don't really care honestly, because sometimes I wake up and I'm just in a bad mood. And I'd love to argue with you. You know, I'd love to vent my shit out on somebody
Hey, she can eat it if she
who wants
wants
to
to.
argue with me. But I also, it makes me feel good and gives me hope about life whenever I go to
Damn,
speak
she
to
was
someone
hungry,
and they actually stop and care.
Right.
You know, because I'm a human too, just like you guys.
Absolutely.
You know, just because I sit on the curb doesn't mean I'm a piece of shit.
Right. So what can we do to help you? What is it that we can do? Other
all your
than
money.
Just be
Down
nice.
and be friendly.
Just act like I'm a human.
right.
I don't even watch her. Just act like I'm a human being.
Right.
Just like not.
Because we're if you were in need, we would help you. No matter what, we will always help you.
Right.
Like, you know,
Okay.
I don't know.
Don't ignore me because that pisses me off.
Right.
Yeah.
So now the two of you are married,
Yeah.
and you've been married. Explain to me your situation. Legally married?
Spiritually.
Spirit. What does that mean?
That means like we're together. We don't need a piece of paper to say we're gonna be together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because nobody else is gonna tell us how our relationship is. We don't need anything from outside, like entities to prove it.
Okay.
What she said.
The only reason like we get married on paper is for like money reasons, tax reasons or something.
Right.
We don't need that.
That's a great support system, the two of you together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, not everyone has that.
Yeah.
I did run into
Plus-
another couple, and they've just recently broken up, living the life
Yeah.
as a home-free
Well, it's
person.
rough.
And I'm sure it's very challenging,
It can be, yeah.
you know. So you guys just hang out on the streets and you sleep in the streets? Do you
Well, no,
do
we
you
don't
utilize
sleep in the
shelters
streets.
as a resource? And that's by choice.
Yeah.
I'm here with my good friend Crystal Brown, who is a counselor for the drug and alcohol addicted population here in the city of Philadelphia. Again, I'm so happy to have you here with me today. We just took a look at a clip of a group of young, very wise individuals who are considering themselves to be home free. Mm-hmm. And what are your thoughts about this home free population?
You know what? It's interesting. And until you brought it to my attention, this is the first time that I've heard the term home free and understood the definition of what it meant. Because the population that I deal with that are homeless, they don't want to be homeless. If they could do anything other than that,
Okay.
and they would.
Right.
But so I found it to be just really, really interesting.
Okay.
My clientele, the definition of homelessness is not being able to keep a job
Okay.
or any income coming in. My definition of homelessness is not having anywhere to go. Maybe what we call abandonmeniums, that's buildings that are abandoned.
Okay.
And they live there, they live on the streets, they sleep on the streets. Some of them will go to shelters. A lot of them don't like going to shelters because what happens there. But it's like nowhere nowhere to go.
Oh, wow. Sometimes I get a little emotional when I talk about, these things, but I'm not going to cry or anything like that.
Why
I'm just-
not?
Well,
if you get emotional, let it out.
This is true.
Because you might see a tear
It's
roll
healthy,
down,
right?
roll
It's
down my
healthy.
eye. It is healthy. It's very healthy.
I want to talk about the various forms of homelessness, right? In my research, there's episodic, chronic, transitional, and unreported or undocumented
Right.
homeless persons, right, that exist in our world.
Yes.
Let's first talk about episodic, and what does that mean to you in terms of homelessness?
I'm not sure.
My thought is just that, they have a series, like it's not constant. Does that make sense? Like it's not a constant history of homelessness?
So
That's what I think about when I hear the word episodic, like it's not consistent homelessness.
So I think it would, the definition of consistency. Okay, so is this person homeless every 2 years? Because that is some type of timing on when everything falls apart and they become homeless again. Are they homeless every 5 years?
Right.
Every 10 years?
Right.
It's still some type of consistency there. Are they going job to job and if they miss a job or something, they're now homeless? Are they
Right.
spending their money on other things other than paying the rent on time
Right.
on a regular basis? Because we all know that homelessness with apartment is different than homelessness with a mortgage in a house.
And this is true.
Because the mortgage in the house, you have a year, 2 years before you're thrown out.
Right.
With apartment, it could be anything from 30 days to a year, depending on what you signed off on your lease.
Right. Yeah. And unfortunately, at times, children suffer as a result
Children
of the
always suffer.
irresponsible adult.
Children always suffer.
Right. So, children, we were talking about youth, right?
Yes.
And the impact of homelessness here in the city of Philadelphia. And apparently there is, unfortunately, a large group, a number of young homeless people.
Adults.
Adolescents.
Adolescents.
Yeah.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
The parents don't like their lifestyle or don't like what they're doing. They can't deal with it, and they just throw them out. And I still call them children, even though they're adolescents. On the streets, they're vulnerable, and adults take advantage of them to no end. I might get a tear now to no end that it's just sinful.
Okay.
It really is. These youth have no, their finances are limited.
Right.
And trust factors, they don't trust adults.
Right.
They don't, it's hard for them to accept that you're trying to help them sincerely. So, and then sexual differences, a lot of people in this country cannot or do not accept different sexual preferences for either religious reasons or moral, how they would, whatever, and they throw these kids out. And so these kids are like, sometimes they get into prostitution, all kinds, robbing, criminal activities, excuse me, all kinds of different things. And it's sad. Now, it's one place, Project Homes, that has opened up a couple of houses for these youths to come and have a home over their heads. One place is at 8th and Thompson, which is right next to the Behavior Wellness Center.
This is in North Philly?
This is in North Philadelphia. Okay. And I think their other place is in Chinatown. Okay. And they're doing a wonderful job with working with the two communities, with the two different populations, and making sure that they're in a safe, clean environment. The place is beautiful. And that they can restart their life again and do something different.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow, that was just about a tearjerker. I almost thought that we needed to stop for a minute, so we could gather our thoughts. And that may or may not happen today. You don't know, because this is a sensitive topic.
Right, it's very sensitive.
Because who wants to see children suffer? Anybody suffer for that matter, but children.
Children, right.
That's a completely different dynamic. Right?
Absolutely.
So moving on to a chronic homelessness, right? And what would you say about that? Would that be defined as, what would you say about chronic homelessness?
Okay, well, there's a lot of factors involved with that. Like at the Behavior Wellness Center, which we do great work with drug and alcohol, rehabbing, detoxing, and providing resources and replacing. Let me just say that most people that are addicted are dual diagnosed, which means that they have, not only do they have drug and alcohol, but they have a mental health challenge that they have to do, that they have to deal with. So, and they may not deal with that, the mental health. So they might get a place, they may be stable for a minute, and then they don't pay the rent or whatever, or they break the lease, and they go back out on the street.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around this safe injection site.
I'm hoping I don't get in trouble for this.
I'm sure that you won't,
when it's aired. I'm not for the safe injection sites.
Yeah.
It just reminds me of people enabling people to abuse drugs and maintain their routine lifestyle, which is self-destructive, and the consequences of it is bad.
Right.
So now let me just say, to just be fair, at the safe injection sites, they have a doctor, a nurse. They have a caseworker on site. They have volunteers. And they have people monitoring their reactions or behaviors. But I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but so because fentanyl is out on the streets, and is being cut with everything. They're cutting it with everything, with marijuana, with opiate pills that are pressed, they cutting it with everything. It's only one or two reactions. The first one, if you take it, you'll OD and die. The second, if you take it and you survive, then you build up a tolerance for it.
Okay.
So the fentanyl is like 100% more potent than opiates. So the chances of one overdosing is high. Okay. So getting back to these injection sites, I just feel that they're enabling individuals to repeat this negative behavior, this self-destructive behavior, and keeping them subdued, that they're more, they don't come to treatment.
Okay.
So that's my personal excuse me, that's my personal opinion. It's not the opinion of the Behave Wellness
Right,
Center. This
right.
is my personal opinion. And I've been to various neighborhood community meetings, and they're just up in arms because they feel that these sites need to be put in other neighborhoods, and such as New Jersey, or such as Center City, you know, and then come back and tell them what they should do, because these sites are going to be in, of course, Kensington. This is where a lot of the drug misuse is happening at.
You were very helpful in providing a better understanding about some of the drugs, opioids, fentanyl, which kind of scared me. You had mentioned something about flesh-eating disease.
Oh, yeah,
Can you help me?
there's another drug out, crocodile, that when injected or snorted, it eats your flesh from the inside out.
Oh.
So if you see people with these open wounds that won't heal, it's because they either indulged in that drug with the fentanyl. So that's really scary. I suspect that you're going to see a lot of wound treatment centers pop up soon to handle this situation.
Let's talk about the mental health aspect.
Yeah, so our mental health facilities are overwhelmed, overworked. There are so many people that are, as I spoke of earlier, dual diagnosed, which means not only do they have a drug and alcohol problem, they have a mental health challenge.
Right.
And let me tell you why. Because if you come from a family that never ever had any mental health challenges, and you never had one, but you keep using drugs, it alters your mind to the point that eventually you start having things, minor mental health challenges, such as anxieties, panic attacks, depression starts there. And the longer you use, the more it can become more intense with mental health challenges. Okay, and because of that, the system in Philadelphia is overworked, it's overrun. It's just not enough providers to assist everyone who is asking for help to get the help they need.
That's scary.
No, what's scary is the Philadelphia system has failed the public schools. They have failed mental health. They have failed their youth. They have failed their senior citizens. And, the fight for different drugs to be off the streets, they have failed in that area. And I don't know, we need to get together as a community and like revamp, talk about, discuss, review, look at the numbers, the statistics, and we need to do something different because this isn't working.
I agree. I just think that it's difficult for all of us to make that commitment simply because we're so consumed with much. And so, although you and I are sitting here, or there are other advocates that spend their time investing in the community to try to help, there are others that have an interest but just cannot carve out the time in a day.
But we're going to have to carve out the time,
You're
and let me tell you why. Because all of these things affect us.
Right. And future
eventually,
generations.
and future generations. Okay, so if we're not helping our youth, who is the future,
Right.
then what's that's going to be? We can't help our youth that are in school, or our senior citizens that have worked and paid their dues, and now they're just really like struggling. They're on the edge of being homeless.
Right.
Because they cannot, there's no affordable housing for them. And if they're in a regentified neighborhood, the taxes go up so high that they have to sell their property and go somewhere else.
And that's a policy issue. That's a government policy issue.
And where they going?
Exactly.
And where are they going? Okay, so I'm just saying, it trickles down to us.
Right. Indeed.
As an individual, as a person, it's going to affect us in the long run, is what I'm saying.
Agreed. So there's stimulant abuse, right? There's cocaine abuse. There's Adderall abuse, meth abuse, opioid, heroin, prescription painkillers, right?
Well, that started the opiate addiction.
Right.
You do know that they claim that this was what was it? Oxycontin was a safe drug to take. It relieved pain. It wasn't addictive.
Right.
And it was safe. Lies.
Indeed.
It did help pain. That wasn't a lie, but it was not a safe drug to use, and highly addictive.
Are there any notable people that you would say use painkillers to help their condition and then eventually became addicted?
Yeah, 48% of America
Right.
is now has a problem because of that.
Right.
Never been a drug addict, got in a car accident, was prescribed these medications by their doctor, by their primary, and then cut off, only to find that they were addicted to it.
Right.
And after a while they couldn't receive a prescription. After a while they couldn't afford to buy it off the street.
Right.
And so they picked up something else that was
most-
cheaper.
Right, and most people don't realize that they're addicted until it's too late.
Until it's too late, yeah, absolutely.
This is a wonderful discussion, and I feel like there's so much more, to cover.
Oh,
So much more
absolutely.
to cover. We took some copious notes in our previous meetings, and
Okay.
I'm just looking through the notes as I'm using them as cue cards.
A guideline.
A guideline to drive the discussion, and it's just interesting to discuss these topics. And again, it's frustrating to know that there's so many people in need of assistance and just can't seem to get it.
Yeah.
Or are reluctant.
Or reluctant to get it. And
Right.
on the other hand, the other side of that is there are a lot of people that are receiving help and making the best of it that they can.
Yeah, I want to go back to talking about even the shelter system and how my first interviewee, Mandy, such a wise young lady. I hope she's doing okay. But it was interesting not only just to meet her, but to hear her story and talk about the reason why she chooses not to stay in a shelter, right?
Yeah.
Theft,
Rape.
sexual abuse, exactly. What else is
Theft,
there?
rape, just mistreated, disrespected. It's a lot of people tell me they feel safer being outside than they do in the shelter. A lot of people tell me that. And you know, I just can't even imagine it, but they tell me, they say, Miss Crystal, you don't understand. You don't, you know. And then this is another thing, a lot of shelters you have to be out by 5:30. There's time allotments when you come in and when you leave. There's nowhere, you can't really keep any belongings because there's no lockers or somebody, if there are, some of them do have them, they're broken into, your things are taken.
So you're literally walking around with
all of your belongings
with you.
With you.
Everywhere
yes.
you go.
Everywhere you go.
Right.
Yes. You know.
Okay, and so then for others who are
Wait, before you go on, let me just say this too. There are family shelters that are much safer than regular shelters. The Salvation Army Red Shield, Salvation Army Red Shield has one of them. They're for family people, women with children, women, husband with children, that they actually have like studio apartments, and they're, you know, they're clean, they're safe, case manager there, and they assist them with getting back on their feet.
Okay, and so I do know that there's a Red Cross located in North Philly.
Yeah, it's at
on
Broad
right?
and Fairmont.
Okay, so you've actually been in that facility
Red
and
Shield.
seen how they operate. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I wondered, you know, how safe it was.
That's a very
for
safe.
families.
That's a very safe
Right.
facility.
I never see any activity going on.
Exactly.
At all.
Exactly. That's the way they run it is fine.
Okay.
It's a really great facility.
Okay. You see, I have somewhat of a booklet here, right, that's developing. And the reason why is, again, because we took such detailed notes in our previous discussions. And I just feel like, although we covered a lot today,
it wasn't enough.
It wasn't enough, right? And so, and so there may be a part 2 if you're interested.
Yes, I am always available.
Once again, I want to thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
You're such a sweetheart. You have such a kind heart.
Oh. Don't make me cry.
And we appreciate. No, I want to be sincere about this. I truly appreciate the commitment that you give to so many.
Thank you so much. And I appreciate the fact that you have allowed me to utilize this platform and discuss it.
We'll do more.
Yes.
We'll do more. Thank you once again.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for joining us. Have a good day and be blessed.
Things change. What was relevant 5 years ago isn't relevant right now.
Okay.
And I say that, and I can just really go into from there the situation that Philadelphia is looking at right now. A very large and intense homeless population.
Indeed.
Crisis, an opiate epidemic, crisis and fentanyl epidemic. It's just, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah. I want to point out what we discussed in our pre-interview.
Sure.
And you might remember this because we did this quite a while ago, that in 1985, with regards to comic relief with Whoopi Goldberg, Robin Williams, and Billy Crystal, there was some kind of campaign to eradicate homelessness, right?
Right.
And let me first say that although we are, this component of the segments or the series that we are recording is mainly about the homeless population, this particular segment deals with both the homeless populations as it relates to drug and alcohol abuse. Okay, so let's go back to comic relief and what you spoke about.
They came together as comics, which each individual has a lot of empathy, and they're always trying to do something positive for the public. They realized within America, the homeless population was like enormous, and they wanted to do something to assist that, to stop that, to be able to provide housing for these individuals. And so what they came up with was comic relief, you know, so they had these shows on for a very long time, different I don't know, like different series of comic shows, and the public would send in money.
I remember witnessing that.
So eloquent. God.
And I'm not sure how impactful it was at that time. What are your thoughts about that? Like, did it trigger change within our communities?
I think it did trigger change, but I also believe that, you know, after the change was made, a new crop of a homeless population developed.
Okay.
So it's one thing to be able to obtain a home or apartment. It's another thing to be able to maintain it.
Right, indeed.
Okay.
And that's for a common man. You know,
that's for everything, everybody.
Indeed.
You know. So I think the maintenance of it, the maintaining it, was problematic. Okay, or overwhelming, or it wasn't enough other resources involved to make that happen.
Wow. Let's delve into how homelessness can cause issues for our neighborhoods, right? Gentrification, things of that nature, and how it changes, you know, the neighborhoods. You know, homelessness specifically, and then substance and alcohol abuse.
Okay, so is the question, how does homelessness change neighborhoods?
I think the culmination of all of them, the three. How does that change the neighborhoods? Because we were talking about, let's see, Kensington here in Philadelphia is more saturated with abusers, right? As opposed to your mainline areas.
Well, right now, Kensington is the mecca of fentanyl and opiate use and abuse.
Okay.
how does homelessness change a neighborhood? Well, when people squat in abandoned buildings, it brings the cost of the property down. So other people that are there cannot get a fair rate for their property. Therefore, they have to sell it for less than it's worth or less than they had invested in or put in. And so on top of that, you have these different money-making contractors come in and they'll buy up a whole plot of properties. All right, relocate the homeless. Okay, and now redo these properties.
Right.
And now they're charging enormous amount of rents for either the housing, the apartment, or the condo.
Right.
So now the homelessness has shifted to some and replaced and put somewhere else. Okay, in another neighborhood. Okay, and this has been going on in the cities of the United States since regentrification started.
Right, right. And Kensington many years ago was
a very nice neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was a working class neighborhood.
Okay.
The people that worked for PECO and Electric, the gas company, water company, Beltel at that time, all these individuals, you know, this is where they lived at. All right, so it changes a neighborhood drastically.
And about when would you say this shift occurred, approximately?
With Kensington, I don't know the exact date, but I'm from Francisville.
Okay.
So I know the regentrification in my neighborhood started like in 2000.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, and now it's like a whole different, you just wouldn't recognize it, nor would you be able to get into it, like buy property or afford it. So what has happened is the regentrification has closed its door not only to the people that are poor, but also the working class people.
Right.
It's non-affordable.
Indeed. Indeed. Especially now.
Especially now.
Right? There are many who have had to readjust their budgets and
add jobs.
Exponential. Right. Exactly.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
It's very difficult for many to survive.
Absolutely.
Today.
Absolutely.
So there are many people who have not just one job, but 2 and 3.
2 and 3 jobs.
Yeah, in order to pay the bills.
Survive.
Yeah, indeed. I just want to say in full disclosure that being homeless doesn't necessarily mean that a person is delving into substance or alcohol abuse.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
I know people who work 2 jobs, beautiful family, had a fire.
Right.
Okay. May or may not had apartment insurance or may not had apartment insurance, ended up at the Red Cross.
Okay.
Their families and themselves. And because of the fire and everything, lost their job. And so now they're like really, really struggling to get back on their feet,
Right.
to get a new apartment, to get another job, to be able to become self-sufficient again. And drugs and alcohol has nothing to do with their story.
Right. Homelessness can occur at any time, as we said before. It can happen to any of us. No one is exempt.
But let me just say this: the disease of addiction doesn't discriminate.
Right.
And most individuals that are abusing drugs are intelligent.
Right.
Many individuals that I have personally dealt with have had great jobs. Like even like for instance, I have a couple people who used to work for the IRS.
Okay.
Okay. And alcohol and drugs led them to where they're at today.
Okay.
Okay, so the disease doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care what gender you are, what race you are, your economical status, how much money you got, how much money you don't have, where you live at. It just doesn't it doesn't discriminate.
Okay.
So, to look at someone and to think that they may not have a problem does not mean that they don't have one.
Right.
It just means that they appear to not have one. And they're very good. This population is excellent as appearing
Right.
one way
Okay.
until
like
they just hit
masking it.
until they hit rock bottom, and there's no
Okay.
way to make it look any more than what it is.
Right.
Okay, if they haven't hit rock bottom, to see them and to speak with them and talk with them, you would never know.
So there are a lot of obstacles when it comes to substance and alcohol abuse, as you had mentioned earlier. And it's very difficult depending on your level of, or years of abuse. Right? Are there any success stories?
Oh, there's many success stories. I have many success stories. And you have to make a conscious decision that you just don't want to do this anymore. You know, even once you start receiving the methadone or medication on the MAT program, the decision to stop using that. Yeah. So I definitely do have success stories where people are not using anything and they working, they went back to school, they went on with their life, and they're not going to the clinic and they don't look back.
Okay.